teaching learning methods. So today we'll be seeing about field trip and programmed instruction. So first let's see about field trip. This might be very familiar to you because you might have visited or a particular place, or you might have organized a field trip too. So field trip, as you know, it is a visit for an educational purpose, and it is also known as an observational visit. Field trip is defined as an educational procedure by which students obtain first-hand information by observing places, objects, phenomenon, or activities and processes in their natural setting. So basically here, students visit a particular area or an organization in order to get first-hand information regarding the processes as well as the activities that is run within the organization or the place. Let's see how to organize a field trip. We are going through the different phases of field trip. The first phase is pre-planning. So in the pre-planning phase, we decide on the trip, where to go, what to visit. So that comes in the pre-planning stage. So decide on the trip, know the resources, obtain the administrative sanction. So this is from the college you belong. Obtain permission from the organization to be visited and fix date and time. So after obtaining the administrative sanction from the college, you have to approach the organization you wish to visit, and you have to fix a convenient date according to the convenience of the both parties. Formulate objectives for the visit, and this has to be informed to the students. List down specific information to be obtained. So whenever a visit is planned, you have to list down the various information that is to be collected from the particular area. Arrange the transportation. Prepare a guide sheet and formulate questions to be asked to the guide. Like we said that we have to formulate objectives as well as goals priorly. So in order to attain those objectives, what information is needed or what questions are to be asked in order to obtain that particular information. So this has to be planned priorly. Students have to be divided and to be allotted to subgroups. You have to brief the student regarding certain things before the visit, and this include equipments and accessories needed, date and exact time of the transportation, actual location and setup of place to be visited, conduct and behavior that is expected from the part of the student during the visit, and safety precautions that is to be followed. Now coming to the next phase, which is actual conduct of the visit, which is on the day of the visit. So you have to follow the schedule as pre-planned, avoid any alterations from the schedule, strictly follow the safety precautions, observe and collect information needed based upon the educational objectives that have been formulated, collect source or study materials as per the availability. For example, if you visit an organization and it is regarding pasteurization plant, so you might get study materials regarding the pasteurization process. So such study materials, if available, that has to be collected for further reference. Teachers, they act as supervisors and they should call upon attention towards pertinent points. So students, they might miss some pertinent areas. So any such areas missed or any such areas that needs attention, that is to be focused, and the students have to be diverted to that particular pertinent area. Coming to the last phase, which is evaluation phase. So this is actually the last phase of field trip in which you follow up how much of your objectives were met, what were the lacunae, how it can be corrected in order to fill up the shortcomings during the next visit. So in the evaluation phase, it should be well planned. This include a group discussion about the effectiveness of the field trip and the extent to which the objectives were met. The learning materials that were collected during the visit, it should be displayed so that whole group can read out or can refer to that particular learning material. Now let's see the teacher's role in field visit. The teacher's role is to watch the student closely, give any help if required, avoid frequent interruptions so that students can learn at their own pace. She should act as a guide, a resource person or a consultant. Supplement learning by timely explanation. So any things that require further explanation, that should be done then and there. Give relevant follow-up activities in order to reinforce the information that has been learned during the field visit and utilize those information into practical area. So that is about the teacher's role in field trip. So hope you are clear about field trip. Now let's see the next teaching learning methodology, which is programmed instruction. So in programmed instruction, we will be exposing the student to a particular stimuli so that they can elicit a response, and through this method we can induce behavior modification. Like if the student doesn't respond to a particular stimuli in an expected manner, we can reintroduce or we can program or mold their behavior to the expected one. Programmed instruction, it is a presentation of stimuli to elicit appropriate response. It is a new method of teaching that utilizes a highly individualized instructional methodology for the modification of behavior to promote learning. So it is a highly individualized teaching learning methodology, and here we aim at behavior modification. About the official definition which was given by Kocher, so he says that programmed instruction is a kind of learning experience in which a program takes place, a tutor for the student, and leads him through a set of frames of specified behavior designed and sequenced to make more probable that he will behave in a desired way. So it is like we have a program, and this program acts as a teacher. This program will have a stimuli, and the student will have to respond to the stimuli, and this is designed in a way that the student will be progressing, or the student will learn to behave in an acceptable manner. Coming to the aims of programmed instruction, the different aims are: it enables the learners to progress through a pre-arranged sequence of experiences to the acquisition of some kind of information or skill. So we have a preset sequence of behavior modification tools, and the student will be progressing through all the steps in order to acquire some information or a skill. Experiences are arranged in a manner to maximize the efficiency of the learning. So it is pre-structured in a way that the learning experience is maximized. Let's see the elements of programmed instruction. The different elements are: the first element, as we said earlier, it is stimuli. So the learner will be presented with a stimuli that gives him information and demands his response from him. So in stimuli, we will be presenting a problem or a stimuli to the student, and this stimuli requires, or the student needs to respond to that particular stimuli. The next component is response. So there is a continual necessity for the learner to utilize the information in making some response. So according to the stimuli or according to the information that is received, the student has to respond in a particular way. And the last part is feedback. So feedback enables the student to ascertain the appropriateness of the response. So through feedback, the program would be saying to the student that was the response adequate, or was the response expected, or what modification is to be made to the response to be in an acceptable manner. So these are the different elements. We have a stimuli which requires a response from the part of the student, and the feedback will be given in order to mold the behavior of the student. Let's see the principles of programmed instruction. The different principles are principle of small steps. So here we have we proceed in a sequence manner, and or we proceed through small steps so that the students learning experience can be maximized. Principle of active responding. So here a stimuli is there and the student has to respond to that. So there is active learning from the part of the student. Principle of immediate confirmation. So as we said earlier, we give a feedback immediately after the response. So there is immediate confirmation. Principle of self-pacing. So we said that there is a program and it is designed in small steps, so the students can learn at their own pace. And principle of student testing. So here the students are being tested, or a response is being elicited out of them and the feedback is given. That is why we have the principle of student testing. Now let's see the process of programmed instruction. So the different processes are: the subject matter to be programmed is analyzed thoroughly and divided into meaningful segments of information, which is known as frame. So the entire content that is to be learned through the program, that will be analyzed critically. After this analysis, or through this analysis, we'll be dividing the content into small steps, and this is known as, each step is known as frame. At one time only, one single frame is presented to the learner, for which he is asked to make a response. So we have divided the entire program into different steps. So at one single moment, only one step will be given to the student and he has to respond to that. And after giving the confirmation of that particular response, we'll be progressing into the next step. After writing his response to the frame, he can compare his response with the correct response of the programmer. So after the student has made a response, we'll be getting a feedback, or he'll be getting a feedback regarding his response. Was this correct? Was this appropriate? Or what changes to be made, so that he can correct his response accordingly. The sequence is arranged in a way that the student is taken from known to unknown response. So it is made in a way that it is structured from known things to unknown things, or simple to complex things. The learner can proceed in her own pace. The learner can repeat the steps or frames again and again till the response is being corrected, and he can progress according to his own pace. Now let's see about the instructional material that is provided in programmed instruction. So it can have different instructional materials like teaching machine, scrambled textbook, programmed textbook, linear or extrinsic program. Let's see one by one. First, let's see about teaching machine. So in teaching machine, we have a mechanical device that presents the student a sequential program of learning activities comprising of instructional items. So here basically we have a teaching or a mechanical device, and the stimulus is provided through this mechanical device. Just like a laptop or a learning app, we have a mechanical device. It requires the student to follow the instructions and make a response. So according to the program that is presented through the mechanical device, the student has to progress accordingly. It immediately provides the student the knowledge of accuracy of his results. So once the response is made, a feedback is given immediately regarding the accuracy of his or her response. Now coming to the next learning method or an instructional material, which is scrambled textbook. So here the student is given the material to be learned in small logical units and is tested on each unit immediately, and a feedback is being provided. So basically here we have a module or we have a learning app in which the materials are being provided as logical units. After completing each unit, the student will have a test for which a feedback will be provided. If the student passes the tested question, he is automatically given the next unit. So once the test has been completed and the student has scored adequately in order to pass to the next unit, he is being proceeded. Otherwise, the student has to revise the unit again and take the test again. Once the passing standard is crossed, he can proceed to the next unit. If he fails, the preceding unit is reviewed again. The next material is programmed textbook. So here the whole book is divided into 4 or 5 panels and the student responds to one by one. It is basically same as scrambled textbook. Here the whole content is divided into 4 or 5 panels. After each panel they will have a test and the student has to respond to each panel one by one. Then we have linear or extrinsic program. So in linear or extrinsic program, the frame prepared are presented to the students in small step. He actively responds to each step. Self-pacing of the student is possible. The sequence is linear as each learner takes same path through the instruction. Like we have an organized frame which is divided into small steps. Each student will have the same path or he has to go through the same lessons in a linear fashion. The whole program is designed extrinsically. Now we have branching or intrinsic programming. So here the frames are not kept before the student in a numerical sequence. The student's answers determines which frame he has to see next. Like we don't have a linear fashion of steps that is being arranged. The program will be running as per the knowledge level or the capacity of the student. Like he will be presented with the initial unit. According to his response to the initial unit, he will be proceeded to the level of his knowledge. Like if a student scores excellent, he can proceed to a particular level. If his score is below average, he has to complete certain steps before going to the next higher level. So it is according to the capability or the knowledge level of the student that he will be progressing further. If he fails in a frame, he is taken back and explained why he is wrong. So these were the distant steps of different programming. We had branching or intrinsic programming, linear or extrinsic programming, programmed textbook, scrambled textbook, and teaching machine. Now let's see the different steps in program writing. The different steps include the initial preparation phase where the particular designer has to review the entire content in order to decide upon what is being included, what is to be included, which references are to be included. The teacher should analyze the suitability of the topic for the program. So whenever a program is planned, adequate topic which can be covered through this particular session should be included. Prepare a content outline and define the objectives, and the entire program would be running through this defined objectives. So this is how you write a program for a programmed instruction. So in programmed instruction, we saw about the official definition, the different aims of programmed instruction, the principles, the processes, the different styles in writing or designing an instructional material, and steps in programmed writing.